Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and I'm back today to do another video. Today I am coming at you from this fun corner angle because I wanted a more comfortable place to sit, and this video is going to be a bit more casual, I think, than some of my other sit down eat videos, so I thought I'd just casually show this side view of my bookshelf as well as my bed, so that is exciting. But today I'm going to be talking about my August TBR, kind of a August TBR talk. I know Doris from Aldi Books kind of coined that phrase, and I really like it as a way to discuss the potential books that you might be reading this month. I am not usually a TBR maker, as I am quite a mood reader, and so I like to kind of keep that variety open. However, I'm hoping this month to kind of put a challenge on myself to read books that I have had on my shelf since before 2020. As you may remember, I am doing this TBR reduction project, which I'll put a link up in the cards above to the video where I talk about that. But I have this TBR reduction project that I'm hoping to get my TBR that's now at about 100-ish books. It's not substantially decreased since I made that video like a month ago. Back down to about 30-ish books, physical books on my TBR by March to June of next year, as that's when I'm thinking I will probably be moving to my next place, and I don't want to be moving a bunch of books that I haven't read to my next destination. So since a lot of those books, and the kind of primary reason that I have so many of these books still on my TBR is that I bought them quite a long time ago, or I received them quite a long time ago, and I just have never gotten around to them. I'm going to be focusing my attention on all of those books that I've just had for at least 8 months, if not much longer. A lot of the books that I will be talking about specifically today I've had for at least a year, in hopes that I will get those books kind of off my shelves, refresh my shelves, and keep them updated with the kind of most pressing books I'm most interested in reading at that time. So that is my plan kind of for the month of August, but obviously there's going to be exceptions to this rule because, as I said, I'm a mood reader, and also there's just other things that I'm working on that necessitate some books that I have acquired them more recently than the start of 2020. The first of which are books that I am currently reading. So I'm currently reading 3 physical books, all of which happen to be books that I acquired actually pretty much within the last month. 2 of them are books that I acquired within the past month, and then another one I acquired back in March, I think. So the 2 that I acquired this past month are Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kawai Strong Washburn and Barrel Aged Stout and Selling Out, which are both books that I'm currently reading and really enjoying, and definitely want to finish these books. I don't want to put them on pause until September or something, so I'm just gonna be, I think the sun is going behind the cloud or something because the light keeps changing, so sorry about that. But these are 2 books that I'm just planning on continuing to read until I finish them, even though they don't kind of necessarily count towards this challenge that I'm doing. Additionally, as I said in my July wrap-up, which I filmed just yesterday, I am also going to be reading New Daughters of Africa by Margaret Busby. I'm not going to finish this one obviously this month, but this one I got back in February or March and will continue to be reading throughout this month. I also am not going to count ebooks as part of this challenge because I have several arcs that I need to read this month on my Kindle that come out this month, and also the kind of ebooks are not something that I'm as worried about in terms of getting that number down because so many of them are arcs, and also because they don't take up physical space because they're all inside my tiny Kindle. So I'm currently reading one of my arcs, which is The New Wilderness by Diane Cook. This one comes out on August 11th, so I will be continuing to read that. Additionally, I have pretty much all the rest of my ebook reading planned out for the month, so the next one I will probably read is Yes, No, Maybe So by Becky, Albertalli, and Aisha Saeed. This one is actually from the library, but I'm going to be doing a Tale of Two Stories dual review with this one and The Voting Booth by Brandy Colbert, which I read last month. I'll put a link up in the cards above too where I talked about that book a little bit, so I'm hoping to do a review of these 2 political YA contemporaries together, so I need to read this one soon. I also have Drowned Country by Emily Tesh. This one comes out on the 18th of August from Tor, and this one is the sequel in the duology to A Silver in the Wood, which is a kind of mythological, folkloric novella that features this mythical man in the woods. They're pretty fun. I like the big forest energy that you get from them, so that one should be enjoyable. Additionally, I also have 3 arcs that come out on the 25th of August. The first of which is Aria by Nazanine Hozar. This is a historical fiction novel that begins in the 1950s, I believe, in Iran and goes through the Iranian Revolution in the 1970s, I believe 1979, and follows a young girl who is orphaned and then is taken in by a group of women, I believe, and it kind of follows her life and then her involvement, I believe, in the Iranian Revolution. So I'm super excited about that one. Additionally, on the 25th, we have His Truth is Marching On, which is a biography of John Lewis by John Meacham with an afterword by John Lewis. As I'm sure all of you know, John Lewis passed away this past week, and his funeral was just yesterday when I'm filming this. John Lewis was my congressman. I had met him a couple times, like at the grocery store and stuff, and he was someone that obviously so many Americans idolized and appreciated, but as my congressman, I especially found him to be such an important American historical figure, so I'm really excited to be reading this biography. I believe this focuses primarily on his years as a student and a student leader in the civil rights movement. I don't think it goes beyond like the 1970s, but I might be wrong. I will check in when I have actually read this book. This is why I love filming TBRs, because you're like, I don't know what these books are about. The last book that comes out on the 25th that I'm hoping to read before then is The Great Offshore Grounds by Vanessa Veselka. And this one, I believe, is a like family saga / road trip book that I'm super excited about. It apparently casts new light on the mythology, so excited about this one. Unfortunately, The New Wilderness, Aria, and The Great Offshore Grounds are all like 400 plus pages, so I'm going to be doing a lot of Kindle reading this month. So those are kind of my Kindle plans, and as I said, all of these ones are ones that I've gotten since 2020 has started. In fact, most of them I've gotten in the past like couple months, but I'm not counting them towards this like challenge. So then the other two exceptions that I'm making are any library books. So my library has started doing curbside pickup, and I have gotten the Seep by Chana Porter, which I heard Sabrina from Bookish Sabrina talk about and really enjoy, and Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas, which several people have read. No one seems to like, but both of these I'm like very intrigued about, so they seemed like perfect library picks because I may end up hating both of them. I'm just not really sure. But I do have these ones in the library. I'm not going to super prioritize them because they are library books and there's no reason that I have to read them. But if I can read them, I definitely will be, and they are not going to like count towards coming off my TBR because they're from the library. And then finally, I have my African Women Writers Project pick of the month, which is Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. And this one actually technically did come on my TBR prior to 2020. It came on my TBR all the way back in like December of 2016. But unfortunately, it then immediately came off my TBR in like January of 2017 because this will be a reread for me. So it's not technically on my TBR, so I'm gonna count it as being fine, and also I have to read it for my African Women Writers Project. So excited about this one, and this will also be an exception to this little challenge I'm making myself. But other than that, I will actually be focusing my reading on books that I acquired prior to 2020. So to kind of focus my attention even more, I've picked 12 books, 6 of which I'm like, I for sure am going to read them this month, and then 6 of which I'm like, hopefully I will read them this month, that I'll quickly share with you now. However, I think I'm also going to put at the end of this video a just kind of scan through of all of my pre-2020 like TBR shelf. So if any of those pop out to you as like books that I really should prioritize this month, please do let me know down in the comment section below. So starting with the 6 books that I'm like, I for sure need to read these, or at least start them this month. Many of these have kind of summary vibes, which is why I've put them in this like need to read pile. The first of which being a book that I highly doubt I will finish, but I do really want to start, which is Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. I've been reading the Realm of the Elderlings, which is this like 13 book series that Robin Hobb has put out since I went abroad in the fall of 2017. I read the first year trilogy all while in Tanzania, and I've very slowly been making my way through the rest of this series. This is the 3rd book in the 3rd trilogy, so it's the 9th one. And usually I go in terms of the total amount of time it takes me to read the book plus the time of like breaks between each book. I usually go about 6 months like finishing each one, and it has been about 6 months. I finished the second one, Golden Fool, in February of this year and enjoyed it, but it was very slow. So I have been hesitant to pick this one up, although I do think since it's the final one in this trilogy, it'll go a bit faster. I am still nervous because this is like a chunky book. I can't really give you any plot summary of this particular book because it's the 9th one in this larger series. And I feel like also if you are at all interested in fantasy, you probably have seen someone talk about this book somewhere on BookTube. But basically this is a series that follows this young boy who actually, he's now a man. He's like 30 or something during these books. that lives in this place called the Six Duchies, and he is a bastard son of one of the princes of this kingdom. And we basically follow him through a lot of political intrigue. In the first series, he ends up becoming a assistant to the royal assassin, so there's a whole like assassins plot in that first one. He still is kind of doing some assassinate type stuff. I mean, he hasn't actually assassinated anyone that I recall in this particular series, but he's basically just like a spy for the kingdom. And there's a lot of political intrigue. There's a lot of complex stuff happening with dragons and other stuff in other kingdoms that is all very complicated, but these books do have really great characters and really thoroughly developed plots and explorations of like, you know, long-term like plot development that I enjoy. They just are really, really slow going for me. So this is the first one that I'm hoping to at least start this month. Then the next one will actually also be the final in a trilogy, which is Rich People Problems by Kwan. I read the first two of these ones, which are just right here, yay, back in 2018, I think. And then I didn't end up loving China Rich Girlfriend, which is the second one. And so I've been hesitant to pick this one up for, as you can see, almost a year and a half now. But I do really want to finish this series out, especially because Kwan has just released a new book that I'm interested in, but I want to finish this one before even think about reading his new release. So this series basically follows a family in Singapore who are incredibly wealthy, like truly more wealth than you could even imagine, really. And basically just kind of their shenanigans and family dynamics and relationships. And they are good fun. They're pretty lighthearted and they're very kind of satirical. They have like fun, let's see if I can find one. They have like fun footnotes. I mean, this one is actually about Cantonese, which is also fun because it's a very non-Western look at wealth and family and that type of thing, which I find really interesting. But yeah, they're lighthearted fun. I mean, they are kind of long. This one's like 500 pages, so that'll also be interesting, but I do definitely want to finish this one. And they just do have very summery vibes for me. I read the first one while we were like on the beach somewhere, so I want to finish this one before summer is over. Then the next book on my like I need to read is The Potlikker Papers, A Food History of the Modern South by John T. Edge. This one I talked about in my 5-star predictions. That was the same as that TBR reduction video. So I definitely want to read this one soon. And also, I don't know, I think a lot of Southern food feels very summery to me. I think because summer is the kind of dominant season here in the South, that this book also just feels very summery. It also has this fun like orange spine that feels summery, and so I'm looking forward to reading this one. And I think I actually might read or listen to this as an audiobook because John D. Edge narrates it himself, and he also narrates or does the Gravy podcast, which is a podcast I really enjoy listening to. So I really like his voice, and I think him reading it would be really fun. So we'll probably go that route with this one. Then the next book that I'm like I need to read is Rules of Civility by Amor. This one I know is Olive from A Book Olive's like absolute favorite book. I've heard a bunch of people talk about it. My mom really enjoyed this one, so I am really eager to get to it. And this one is set in the 1930s and follows a young woman named Katie as she basically kind of enters the upper echelon of like New York society at the time. And I think some wild stuff happens. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm excited. And it just, I don't know, the cover has summery vibes, so excited about this one, really. Then the second to last of this pile is A Place for Us by Fatima Fahir Mirza, and this one was a finalist for the BookTube prize, and I meant to read it around that time, but I didn't get around to it, in large part because I know it is very sad, especially the last part of it, and I just don't think I've been ready to be that sad, but I do think I'm ready now. I bought this about a year ago, so I think it's time that I read it, and I am really excited about it. It just, again, it's a longer book, and it's supposed to be really sad, and I just haven't been ready to read it, but I am now, and I'm going to read it this month. So there you have it. Then the last book in this pile is one that I've talked about so many times on my channel because I really do need to read it, and that is Grief Cottage by Gail Godwin. I talked about this one in my prior chapter video, I think around Memorial Day weekend, and so I will put a link to that up in the cards above if you want to hear more about this one. But it's about like a young boy who basically discovers this ghost who may be real or not, that's kind of part of the plot, as he is grieving the death of his mother who died in a car accident. So really excited about this one. It's set on a beach in South Carolina, so it has summery vibes for that reason, and I'm excited to read it. Then, as I said, I do have 6 other books that I'm like hopeful to get to this month, but I'm not going to put pressure on myself to read these ones specifically, as I am with the 6 that I just mentioned. So I'll just kind of quickly go over those ones now. The first of which is Michael Pollan's The Botany of Desire. I talked about this one in my like chopping block section of my TBR reduction video, so it's another one that I'm really hoping to get to. And this is a nonfiction book about 4 species of plants that have all benefited from developing a like symbiotic relationship with humans, so excited about that. Another one from that shopping block part of the video is 10,000 States by Eleanor Henderson. This is a novel set in the 1980s that follows 2 friends, and I think deals a lot with addiction, as I believe one of the friends ends up dying of an overdose at the beginning of the novel. So hoping to get to this one very soon as well. We also have another nonfiction book, which is What I Know Now, Letters to My Younger Self. This is a collection of letters from a bunch of famous women, some of whom are like writers by trade, others are not necessarily, and I believe it's just kind of advice from older women to their younger selves and younger women in general. So really excited about this one. It's like very short, and I am anticipating it quite highly. One of my besties, as I think I talked about in my Reading Rush TBR, gifted this to me, so I really need to read it because she wrote little starred and underlined things too that I think will be really fun to read. So there is this one. Next up in this pile, we have Say You Still Love Me by K.A. Tucker. This is a second chance romance novel that I also bought last summer, I'm pretty sure, right when everyone was like first reading it and talking about it, and then it seemed most people didn't like it. So I didn't really want to read it after that, but I am still intrigued. Second chance romances are some of my favorites to read, and K.A. Tucker is like really well liked here on like the romance booktube community, so I figured I would give this one a go. I think it's the only romance book I have right now on my shelves that I haven't read, which is surprising to me because I do like romance, but romance and I have had a pretty rocky relationship during COVID-19, I think just because they're like a little too lighthearted and happy for how sad and upsetting this time is. So hopefully this one will be okay, and if it's not, you know, I can also attribute it to reading romance during COVID-19. So there is this one. And then only 2 more. So the next one is Red Clocks by Lenny Zumas. This one also made the rounds on BookTube quite a while ago whenever it came out. I think that was 2018. And I was really excited to read it then, but I only got a copy sometime, I believe around October of last year. I can't quite remember. But this follows a kind of near future wherein Roe v. Wade has been overturned. So abortion is illegal and in vitro fertilization is banned, and the Personhood Amendment grants rights of life, liberty, and property to every embryo. So it's a kind of exploration of what is that like, and I've heard really good things about this from all sorts of different people, and I believe it follows several different women who are all impacted by the Personhood Amendment in various different ways. This one does have slight kind of, you know, like fascism vibes, which obviously is pretty relevant to the time we're living in right now, so it may not be the type of book that I want to read right now, but I'm going to try it anyway and see what happens. And then the last book is another one that I've talked about quite a lot on my channel, and that's The History of Wolves by Emily Friedland. This one was a finalist for the Man Booker Prize and is set in the summer in the Northwoods of Minnesota, so it does have some like summery vibes there, and I believe, let's see, it's about a young teenager who lives with her parents in an abandoned commune in rural Minnesota, and there's an ideal family that moves in across the lake, a seemingly ideal family that moves in across the lake, and so she's kind of drawn into their secrets and stuff, which is always a vibe that I usually like, so I'm hoping this one will be good, but I will keep you updated. So those are the 12 books that I'm hoping to get to that have all been on my shelves since the start of 2020, many of which, including this one, have been on my shelves for like over a year, potentially even 2 years. So I'm really hoping to get through a lot of these books and probably not bring in a lot of new books. I am trying to kind of limit that in general in my life, but we will see what happens throughout the rest of my weekly wrap-ups. I will kind of keep you updated on how this project is going, and as I said, I will include a little clip of all the other books that I have on my shelves from before 2020 that I have purchased since before 2020, that if in any event any of those books are ones that you would super recommend, please do let me know down in the comment section below. And I think that is everything. If you have found my channel through this TBR, hi, welcome, my name is Jenny, and I make YouTube videos talking about books. The lighting in this video has been insane, so sorry about that. Please give my channel a subscribe if the books that I talk about in this video interest you, as they're indicative of the type of books I talk about here on this channel. Additionally, if any of these books are really good or really bad, or you just want to talk to me about them in general, please leave a comment down in the comment section below, and I will talk to you next time.